Hello there, and welcome to the B&B Show. My name is Brandon Kane. Of course, this guy here to my left, that's going to be Seahawks. Brendan Nelson back in the house today here, helping me kind of turn over the last of this loss and get through it, and then work our way to this Tennessee Titans game, which on the surface looks like it'll be easy peasy, but we're going to get into this nonetheless and try to understand it. Brendan, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Would be doing a little bit better right now if things had gone slightly differently on Sunday, but got to see a lot of cool people at the event, so always nice.
How'd that go? Yeah, so you were out at Norb's event there with the casino,
Yeah.
right?
No, it was a bar and grill in the
Barn
Kent
Grill.
area called Stimpy's. He's there. Mark Collins is there, who was one of the originators of the, Save the Seahawks in the 90s. You have a couple of recent fans of the year for the Seahawks there as well. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. We fill that place out, and it's a lot of fun. So I've been there 3 times now, and all 3 times we've gotten a very competitive game. So
That's
um,
good.
I don't know. I prefer it to be a blowout, I guess, but it's not bad theater. It's not bad theater at all.
No, it's always fun to do those meetups because so often you're doing this, just over the internet. You're not really as much, facing the audience, forward facing as much. So it's kind of cool to be able to get out in person and say hey to everybody and get some faces to names and stuff.
hmm It is nice. It is nice. But yeah, would wish we could have gotten that win. But even within that, there was some pretty positive stuff to take away from that one. So it's certainly not all bad.
No, and I guess I would ask from the standpoint of where you sit coming out of this game. I think everybody's pretty in alignment with Brendan. Okay, defense great, Sam bad. There's some greater takeaways by a lot of people coming out of this game, not just in Seattle fan base, but in national fan base on this. Well, this confirms that Sam Darnold's going to always turn into a pumpkin. That this is what this game showed. You get him up and against a good team, you get him up in the bright lights, and when it really matters, and he's going to fall. Do you find yourself kind of taking the same outlook of it coming out of this game with it, or is this just a one game and this is not the Sam Darnold we've seen this year?
I think that the Rams do some specific stuff that Darnold has a problem dealing with more than maybe the average quarterback. Like with all the stuff you have to be thinking about what's going on in front of you as well as what is going on down the field, because they like doing the stunts and twists so much. I believe they are the number one stunting team in football by a pretty decent margin, and they haven't been super effective at it so far this year, but I think that just adds another layer to what you have to think about as a quarterback. And I do think that we can say that Sam has some issues there, but there were some extenuating circumstances in this game. Like you fell down 14-3 pretty early, and while you were able to get back in the game, and while it was close for a decent chunk of it, when you're playing from behind, like we were pretty much that whole game, it does alter things a little bit. Darnold dropped back to pass, I think 46 times in that game or something, 45, 46. That's not typical for him. And I think that's going to throw things off. So if and when a rematch well, we know a rematch will happen for sure, at least once. Just hopefully we can just avoid getting in that situation where we fall behind and we have to just kind of pass our way out of things, because this team is not built to do that. One of the bigger problems with this team is on pure dropbacks. They're not that good. Like most of their production and their passing attack is off play action. So you need to avoid that specific situation. But I don't think there's anything necessarily like magical about a good defense that's going to make it impossible for Darnold to do good stuff.
Yeah. Did you feel like the play calling was okay in this game too, though? I mean, I know we did fall behind. I felt like, though, my standpoint that there was a little bit of you leaning into getting too pass happy, and especially trying to get pass happy, throwing down the field into where really the coverage was with this Rams defense.
Um, I didn't have a big problem with most of the play calling, I would say. If I had some kind of an issue with anything with regards to the the process of the offense, it would just be the fact that we looked completely out of sorts when we tried to go to our hurry up offense at the end of the game. That made me kind of wonder if that's something that maybe we're just not familiar with. Maybe we're not comfortable with it because it seemed very lackadaisical. It seemed very lethargic. That bothered me. But in terms of the play calling, maybe it wasn't perfect, but it's never really going to be perfect. I didn't have any big objections with it. I'd like to be more balanced, but I also at the same time do understand that, hey, you probably panicked a little bit because it was 14-3 so quickly. Oh,
you're good, man. Sorry. Cat's needing let out.
Oh, you've gone wireless. Okay, I didn't know you could still hear me when you did that.
Oh yeah, okay. We're modernizing here slowly but surely, Brennan.
Right. Yeah. All right. So anyway, what I was saying was, I mean, I prefer to be a little more balanced, but I think that maybe the team panicked a little bit when it was 14-3 so quickly, and the Rams were really running on us effectively early in that game as well. I think there was probably a little bit of panic, but I didn't think it was egregiously bad or anything like that.
It just felt like to me that you walked into this game with a team that was going to commit to running the light boxes. And what's to me the most important key for why I have a bit of an issue with it, Brendan, is that you had not dealt with light boxes at any game this year. Everybody had pretty much said, we're going to stay with this stack box front. And this was a Rams team that wasn't. And so not only did you not, to me, stay with the run enough to attack that light box, which is how you're supposed to go after light boxes, but then when you were throwing the ball, it wasn't short, it wasn't quick, which is what the Niners did in both the two games they played the Rams. They gave you a blueprint for how to beat them. Instead, you're taking shot plays down the field constantly, which is right into the 7-man coverage of the Rams. Going back and watching the All-22, every time they're dropping 7 guys into coverage. And so you're just asking Sam at that point to kind of throw, in my opinion, into the teeth of the defense. And it's the combination of those two, both the lack of utilization of the short passing and then also you didn't run enough against this light box. If they're going to run that up there, you've got to attack that. And I just, from my perspective, I'm a little confused in retrospect as to why they didn't.
Yeah. I'm definitely not saying it was perfect. I just didn't think anything really stood out in a massive way. But you're definitely right about the whole idea about passing into the teeth of the defense. How much of that do you think is the play call, and how much of that do you think is the decisions of the quarterback?
Oh, it's all play calling. Because what you're doing with the All-22 and going back and watching it, Brendan, is that a lot of the time you're running chips and sometimes you're running double chips. So chip here. And then I've only got 3 guys running an actual route into 7 guys in coverage, 3 guys into 7. And then you're running them to a specific spot on the field where all 3 of those guys are basically going to intermediate or depth on their routes. There are no short routes. And maybe those chippers eventually leak out eventually, but sometimes they're getting held up, caught up on the block, and they don't even get out in the route, especially with the way the pass rush hits at a certainly timely basis against the Rams there. And so that's where to me, it's you didn't provide Sam the security blanket. You didn't provide him an out on those plays. You gave him a take a sack or try to fit it into a tight window. And you did it throughout the day. It wasn't just at the end when you're trying to get back up there. It was throughout the day that you were choosing to attack in this way. And to me, it felt like, Brendan, a one-size-fits-all approach to where this is how teams have played us every game coming into this game and dealt with our condensed splits and all that. So we're just going to anticipate they're going to do more of the same. I understand the anticipation from Kubiak's standpoint. What I don't get is when he realized the Rams were going to do what they do. This wasn't the Rams giving you this crazy strat that you didn't know or couldn't anticipate you were going to get. This is what they do. So you mentioned the stunts and the twists. You know what kills a stunt and a twist? Running at it.
Yeah.
Quick passing and running at it. If I leave my gap to go stunt around and loop around and I run I catch a mid loop and I run into that, that's going to be a wide open run for my guy. The blocker's not even going to have to clear anybody out on that side. But I just felt like you weren't committed to doing it. I felt like you just kind of decided that you're going to do what you've done all throughout this year. And Kubiak's got to be a little bit more, to me, read the temperature in the room, read how the team's playing you. And it stood out as I think a major thing that held back our offense, and it contributed majorly to me, Brendan, on Sam's day.
Right. I can never get the All-22 thing to work. I gave up on it a while ago. Stupid thing.
Oh,
so
I'll
have to take your word for it on that one. But the mistakes were made. But I unlike last year, I do have a decent amount of confidence that people will learn from it. Right. Last year really felt like you never really learned anything. But I think that this year, this crew might be able to solve this. We're going to get a rematch with the Rams later this year. And I feel like things will probably be better, but even in this game, I didn't think it was, again, I didn't think it was egregious. I just thought it was worse than it could have been. And the main thing that I came away from, and I kind of want your perspective on this. Again, the
Hmm.
hurry up offense at the end of the game looking so kind of lethargic. Who do you put that on? Who do you think is responsible for that? Because that bothered me probably even more than the interceptions.
Yeah, I mean they've had some good 2 minute stuff that they've run this year at times.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's an issue with the team. I think just this game in that moment, it just was one where they just didn't have a sense of urgency that you need to have there. And was it Sam not pushing the ball and being a little more aggressive in that moment? Maybe, some of that was a little bit of that. If the ball's at the 20-yard line, they probably get it down there and get it into field goal range, right? So it's, to me,
Yeah,
I backtrack
probably.
and go, it's as much of like, you got to punt at the 1-yard line. You have been awful this year when you've asked Sam to be in the end zone. You were awful with it last year when you had Gino in the end zone. So got to keep in mind, I think, a little bit of why they've got through like a little 5-yard pass here to Barner, get out of your own end zone first before you can start to try to get some yards down the field, is understanding, well, you guys have really looked bad at times back in the end zone with some of these plays. In fact, you've had some turnovers with him in the end zone, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So I would say that was probably a little bit of the driver there. You've had 4 interceptions on the day. You're in the heart of your own end zone. That causes them to probably get a little bit stuck in the mud getting out the gates in that drive. I agree with you in that it stood out. You're seeing it right and true. It's just, I don't think it's something that's going to carry onwards because guys are going to tend to put a punt for the game on the line at the 1-yard line as good a punt as you'll ever see.
It was maybe the play of the year. I don't know.
It was an amazing for that time to put that punt down there. Because like, even if it's at the 10-yard, bro, wouldn't you say if you get that the 10-yard line, you're probably not having to be now as conservative. You can probably like let it loose a little bit, and you probably get another 5 to 10 yards up there. And Myers probably is able to hit that kick. So it's that punt to me really did kind of factor heavily over that last drive with 50 seconds and one timeout. And could they have been a little more aggressive there? A little bit. The tape showed on one play in particular, you had JSN rolling an in-cutting route at 15 yards where you went short to Barner there. But again, I think some of that was being driven in a process by Darnold trying to be very protective of the ball there initially out the gate on that.
Yeah, but it was also the previous drive where you got the touchdown, where it felt like
Oh, yeah.
they thought they had more time than they did almost. At
Yeah.
times, it looked like it was July and they were at the VMAC going through walkthroughs. And I don't know. I mean, this team has been fairly good scoring at the end of the first half when they get into that hurry up offense. So it was a little bit surprising to me that it was so lethargic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Again, because look, 4 interceptions in a game is kind of fluky and rare, and that's probably not going to happen again. Maybe the team has a little bit of a turnover problem right now, but I think that it's going to be a little overstated. And super, I'm not a guy who's super obsessed with turnovers anyway. But that hurry up offense stuff like that's going to come up again. Almost certainly at some point this season, you're going to need to come through in one of those spots, be it now or in the playoffs. And I didn't like what I saw there, but you're probably right that it was more a reflection of how that game was going than anything else.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you though. I mean, that drive prior to the field goal drive was one that I think you ran it even a couple times. Like, why are we running it? What are we doing here? Get up the field, throw the ball. So I am with you on that one a little bit, and kind of ironic where you're staying committed to the running game, and now you're throwing short with 50 seconds left in timeout. Now you're starting to embrace the short passing attack all of a sudden after ignoring it all day. But I think that both those, while they're both issues, I don't think, as you said, this is a team that's shown willingness to correct. We won't continue with the Milrow packages. We'll throw out some of the trick stuff when we realize it's not working. Really, the key with Kubiak is just sticking to what works and don't overthink things. I think if I had to go to him, and he's such a great coordinator, but when it goes wrong, you can usually pull the thread back to that being where we're at the beginning ground of where it's gone wrong and why it's gone wrong. Just not staying to what we do well and kind of feeling like he has to be real diverse and do a lot of different stuff, which is not, to me, really the requirement here. You can just hammer the thing that does work. In this game, you run the ball well. Keep hammering the run game. Feature some of the short passing attack like the Niners did with Mac Jones. That's all he did. Drop back, hit his back foot, get the ball out. That's all he was doing. And it wasn't getting it out down the field, trying to push the ball down the field, just short passes, a little bit of intermediate. And you got to be patient with this Rams. This is much for the next time we play them, Brendan, that this is how you have to play them, right? So this is not going anywhere next time. The light boxes aren't going anywhere next time. Their vulnerability against the run is going nowhere. Their short passing is going nowhere. You've got to use this next time when you play them. And you didn't use it in this game.
Right.
That is for sure.
Absolutely.
Shiloh Davis, thank you for becoming a member on Brendan's side over there. So Shiloh.
And for the record, it shows up twice because one's for the vertical stream and the other's for the landscape stream.
Gotcha.
First, I thought it was a glitch. They're separating out the stream, so now you can watch like a more mobile-friendly version. I don't know if I'm a big fan of it. I might get rid of it next time I stream. But it is kind of becoming this new thing to have like separate streams on YouTube for PC versus mobile.
Makes sense. I get what they're trying to do with that. And it'll eventually be automatic probably when it's all said and done.
Right.
Matthew Clements, thank you for 21 months on your side as a Brendan member. He says, Jackson Smith and Jigba, 150 yards away from the franchise record. Thoughts?
I mean, he's definitely going to get there, right? I think we can pretty safely say that, although he may have to try to get all his yards in the first quarter this week.
He's done that before, though.
Yeah.
So he's pulled that off.
Yes. But, I mean, that's what happens when you're like, what is he, 70% of this team's passing offense or something crazy like that. I think if you put it all together, it'd be something like that. And, I mean, even in that game, it didn't feel like he was as dominant as he had been in previous weeks. And then you look up at the box score and he's got another 100-yard game. He's kind of gotten to that point where you don't even notice it. And then he's got 120 yards at the end of it.
Yeah, the effortless 100. And it's been such a fun development of this season, Matthew. We talked about coming into this year needing to see the difference makers start to separate themselves on this football team. We've got good players. We've got a good foundation. We're the difference makers. When are they going to start popping? That's what you need as well, in addition to all this stuff with great coaching and great young talent. And he's one of those guys popping in that major way, playing like the best wide receiver in the sport. Another one-handed stab down there on a 9 route again every week, taking the top of the defense off, not just doing it to where he's getting his chunks from the slot. Let's say it's getting done from the outside. And he's been impressive every single week. I think, as Brendan said, he's to the point now where he just gets at that 100 and barely feels like he's having to try hard to get it done. He just makes it look so easy.
Yeah, I think there were 3 players in that Rams game that had more slot snaps than JSN. He's pretty much a full-time outside receiver now. Kupp gets most of our slot snaps, and then you got Shaheed. He's in the slot sometimes, and Barner's actually got more slot snaps than JSN. So I don't know where this came from, because I'm going to say it again. He was a slot only in college. He didn't play on the outside at all, really, at Ohio State, and somehow, some way, look at what's going on.
Yeah, and he's got a great chance, Matthew, of getting out there and taking the record down too, with where you consider where he's at. If he gets close to it, they're going to help him get over the top, and he's making a lot of headway here with the pace that he's setting, on top of the fact you're going to need him throughout these games down the stretch. So it'd be fun to watch him if he can pull this off and do it in one of the more inexplicable places and ways, because you're not necessarily a pass-happy offense. You're not necessarily giving him – he's getting a lot of targets, but again, it's not one where it's coming at the back of you being behind on games and he's able to just pad the stats a little bit. He's having to get these true and real with the game on the line when it matters, which to me makes it all that much more impressive.
Right. Again, I'm hoping that Jonathan Taylor wins MVP, so JSN might be able to sneak that Offensive Player of the Year. I don't think a Seahawk has ever won Offensive Player of the Year, so it'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. And definitely that'd be a nice way for that to go as a pecking order on that, where John gets his award and JSN can get a little bit of love too on his side for a record-breaking season at that point. Thomas Cox, thank you for the $5 donation. Thomas, it's good to see you in the house. Says, I wonder what the narrative would be if Seattle did win the game. Year 3, McDonald is going to be scary. I can't say that enough. Teams are jealous.
Actually, on the topic of McDonald, I wanted to ask, my understanding is that we blitzed a lot more than we typically do in that game on Sunday. I think it was like over 30%. I don't know if you've seen that, but my understanding, it was like 33%. How did you feel about that? Because that wasn't exactly what I was thinking should be going on in that game.
I think what they were doing as I watched it was they knew that you have the number one play action team coming into the game. And so one way to counter play action and take the knees out of play action really quickly is you have your men up at the line of scrimmage, and then you designate one of your blitzers to be or just one of your edge guys to be the attack man on Stafford. So you ignore the run game a little bit from the front, up in the front on this, and then you have the guy you say, ignore the handoff, don't go for the play fake. I want you just to attack Stafford. And so if you watched it more than a few times this last game, Stafford would play fake, come back around, and then he would have a Seahawk right in his face, and he would have to dirt it down at the ground. And that it wasn't a sack you were getting, but you were defunking the play at that point and taking it away because he was at that point having to just say, I've got no pathway to throw the ball. So I think that they chose, this is McDonald's kind of brilliance here, is you weren't blitzing to necessarily overload or do stuff like that. You were blitzing in order to basically take that play action away, which is the bread and butter of this Rams offense. So they do it as much as anybody in the league. So I love this. Is why I like McDonald, is that he will schematically set things up to attack specifically what offenses are doing and take that away. That's what I want to see from my defensive coordinator. It's not that you're going to stop them fully at that point, but you take away what they want to do, what they're good at, make them play left-handed. The whole thing I always liked about Bill Belichick with his approach defensively is every week he would change his approach to the opponent he's playing. And you'd think every coach would do this, Brendan, but I think a lot of coaches just kind of line up and then they go, we are who we are. We're going to be what we are, and we're going to take it to them. It's like, okay, it's good for machismo kind of stuff, but it's really when it's bottom line wise, you got to play to the opponent and try to grab some advantages where you can pluck them, right?
Yeah, especially in this sport. Maybe other sports you can get away with just doing what you do, but not this sport.
No, I think you've got to take advantage in this way. And this is a big part of why McDonald's here, is that he's got this in his bag to a major way. But I didn't anticipate it. I do think if we went back and looked at where the blitzes were occurring, we'd find a lot of them happening right there in that spot of, where you've got them under center. You're anticipating play action on the play a little bit, stuff like that.
Right. So as for the narrative, if Seattle did win that game, I don't know. I mean, we came very close, so I don't think it would be radically different than what it is right now. And by the way, is my camera frozen?
It's a little choppy.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. My computer has lost its mind today, guys. I am sorry. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. It's all good. We can still hear you clearly with it on that. Yeah, I think the narrative would have been probably pretty similar, Thomas, because the 4 interceptions would have still been there from Sam, and would have said, well, this team's amazing and the defense is great, but it still would have, I think, been a little bit of a, Sam is eventually going to be this thing that becomes the anchor around the neck of this team in the big games, because that's just what's going to happen. I still think that would be a part of this, but I don't agree with that. And I do think you're right about McDonald just continuing to get better and better. He was talking yesterday, I think, or a day or two ago on maybe it was 710 about going back and watching the Titans inter-squad practice in training camp last year, and him and the defensive coaching staff looking at the tape and just all the things they were seeing from their defensive guys, and like, wow, we have come a long way. Like that defense and the mistakes being made in that practice a year and a half ago, we are light years ahead now where we stand. And it kind of stood out to me as a comment, because it does make sense. This is an intricate, detail-driven defense that you're not going to master in 1 week. You're not going to master in a half a year. There's a lot of extra details, a lot of this. They do this, we do that. And that's going to me, make sense that would require players to take a little bit of time to fully kind of master it.
It's great to have a coach like this, man. It really is, because like you said, most coaches are not. Most coaches do not think about things the way that he does. And most coaches, like you said, they apply that one-size-fits-all approach. And I think you look around the league, it's shocking how incompetent some of these coaches really are. And to segue right from the most successful coach in franchise history to this guy, I mean, we got it pretty good. There are plenty of teams out there that have been searching for a worthwhile coach for decades and haven't been able to find anything close to this.
It's really telling. I think it also speaks back to how strong your ownership is, in that 3 out of the last 4 head coaching hires you've had have been absolute home runs. Mora, and then the one bad one you had in Mora, you pivoted off that one as quickly as you possibly could to move into the right direction to Coach Carroll. And this is why ownership matters. This is why if you have bad ownership, it doesn't matter what you do down the stream. At the top of the stream, you're dumping chemicals into the river. That's pretty much going down. So you got to have great ownership. And Jody, I think, has done a good job of taking over for Paul Allen and steadying this ship through. I know we haven't gotten a lot of playoff success or back to the Super Bowl, but I think that there has been smart decisions. They came in on the Carroll situation and made the call at that when it wasn't always super clear at that moment to everybody. It was to you and me with your bag over your head, but it wasn't to everybody out there. And that was one where it was a tough decision, but the right one that they made. And this is what gets you to the right coach, is also pivoting off the wrong one at the right time. And the team's done that too. So it's we got great ownership here. It's a good thing to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, was that probably the worst game a McVay offense has had since he got there? Almost, that it's got to be up there, right? Outside of maybe the games that Baker Mayfield started or something.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they had a couple of, remember that one guy that they were starting, the no-name guy that they started for Goff a couple of times too in there. He had
John
some rough
Wolford.
games. Yeah,
John Wolford.
Wolford was out there. Yeah. I think too as well though that Stafford and McVay are pretty smart, and that I think once they saw that, your 3 interceptions into the game there was with Darnold, I think that there was a bit of we're going to be very careful in our approach offensively against the Seahawks defense. We're not going to put things into harm's way. We recognize right now Sam's kind of throwing this game away here on the other side. So let's not match that. Let's let him do what he's doing. I always say with this, Brendan, that sometimes winning football games is not just about making the plays; it's avoiding the mistakes. And I think that in avoiding the mistakes, they were playing it a little safe. They were playing a little conservative offensively into that second half, and that was a little bit of a contributing cause for why it was down. They played great defensively too. We took it to them. Don't make no mistake about that. But I think there was also a little bit of a let's not beat ourselves kind of approach into that second half from the Rams.
Valid, definitely valid. And they were correct to do so, clearly, as you said.
Yeah.
Although,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a few yards probably away from that result flipping. So even then, it comes down to the wire.
I'm not saying I like it. We've hammered this multiple times this year about when we've done the same thing in games and tried to lean on the lead. We don't like it because you end up falling into the very thing you're trying to avoid. It's like prevent defense. It ends up not preventing anything. You just got to keep the foot on the pedal and you got to keep cooking it through. And there is a point in the game where you can start to manage it a little bit. But when you start getting into midway through the third quarter and start thinking about that stuff, to me, it's a little presumptuous. To me, it's a little bit early. Give it a little bit more time to really make sure you've got this thing fully in your hands. And so we're consistent on this, but I think it is still what they did do. And like you said, it almost got him bit in doing it. Another 5 yards, and it very well might have done that.
Right. But yeah, year 3 McDonald, man. One more year getting to shape this defense. Maybe get a true star edge rusher in here. Maybe get a real nose tackle. Who knows?
Maybe so. You certainly feel like he's going to get more of the personnel, even more modified and customized to his system as we get into year 3 with Schneider both learning it and then having now it be into year 3 with the time. It's hard initially when he gets in. He's just inheriting all of Coach Carroll's guys for Coach Carroll's scheme. So there is a transition process there that's going to take a little bit of time, and it's not overnight to get it done. So Thomas, well said on your part. The future is going to be very scary with McDonald down the line, and make no mistake about it. The opponents know it. Those guys in this division know it. The guys I do with on the roundtable know it about McDonald. Rams and Niners and all that. They know this guy's that guy. So it's nice to have for the future, man. Future looks very bright, even after tough losses like this past weekend. Let's pivot this a little bit more forward, Brendan, and take a look as we can at the start of this Titans game. Unless you had any other kind of final thoughts off the back of that Rams game or anything that was
nothing really. Pretty straightforward game overall when you're evaluating it. Defense good, offense bad, and hope they learn from it. And I'm pretty confident they will.
Yeah, I am as well. I think that these things are correctable, and I think with Sam, the one last thing I'll say on this is it was not Sam seeing ghosts to me in this game. You had 20 pressures from the Rams. There was plenty of pressure there. To me, the throws were more of him being Superman when you break it all down, and that sometimes you need to take a sack, sometimes you need to throw it away. Sam needs to know, and Sam needs to do that. Gino didn't do this as well last year. It drives me crazy. These guys have pretty good mobility. They got to use their legs at times, even to take a free 5B. Take the 5 yards, get down to the ground. Doesn't have to be a 15, 20-yard run on your part, but just take the positive play as a result. That first interception, especially where you could have sidestepped a couple steps, run up forward, got a couple yards, got down. The superhero stuff's the stuff you got to cut out. But to me, back to your point, this is correctable and this is fixable, and you can get a quarterback, I think, to say, okay, it's late in the play. You're thinking now I'm going to still do something, throwing the ball in the field. What I want you to do instead is throw it away or use your legs. I think it's a simple modification to make within the game.
Sometimes I feel like some of these quarterbacks think that if they use their legs to get yards, it's like not real. It's like it's not really playing quarterback. Like I
Yeah.
feel like they feel like if I do that, it's cheating almost. I want to actually play quarterback, and it's an antiquated way to look at things.
You got to use your legs, man. You just have to do it, especially if you're Darnold that's not going to have a spy on you. Everybody's going to drop to coverage. Defenders are going to turn their back to you. You have an opportunity to break that pocket and go get those easy yards. And good easy yards are never a bad result, especially when you're the other side of it is you trying to force a ball off your back foot into the middle of the field late. That's not the way. But again, I think that this is an easy transition because you're not saying, okay, you're getting to your back foot and you're making the wrong read. You're getting to your back foot and you're not seeing the coverage clearly from pre-snap. That's not what's happened. He's getting his back foot. Oh, that guy's covered. Oh, that guy's covered. Oh, hell, let me try to do something. Or, it's the Arroyo route where maybe Arroyo was supposed to break it inside. We don't know on that one for sure. It's an odd throw in how he put it. If he's trying to put it up over the top in the seam there versus it cutting in, which would have made a lot more sense. It's the sack coming down his face from Byron Young on the twist and the loop, and he's hit right in the face instantaneously. And he's like, well, I got to just try to get rid of it. No, just take the sack. That's where you're not going to be able to run away. You're not going to get away from that one, but that's instantaneous pressure. You just got to sometimes eat it. A sack is not always the worst result. Worst result is turning it over on a short field to the opposition.
Right.
All right. Well, we got this Tennessee Titans team rolling into town, Brendan, and this is not a game I think that's going to elicit a lot of excitement from Hawk fans because they're going to look at this and kind of rightfully so say that we should be able to, sleepwalk our way to a victory here. You do worry a little bit about the overlooking aspect of this football team. They're 1-9. They have fired their head coach. They've made trades at the deadline, moving guys that have been good players or decent players for them, productive players for them, to try to turn this forward. What do you see from a grand scheme perspective, grand picture, with this Titans team and what they've got going on?
It's pretty depressing. It's pretty lean. There's I was looking at that roster yesterday for a video I made for Bleacher Report, and it's kind of stunning how little they have going for them right now, especially because Calvin Ridley's out for the year now.
Yeah,
He
there's another
was
one.
not their most productive receiver, but he was their most talented receiver. He was their clear number one. And without him out there, it's really tough. Like Okonkwo might be their best skill position player at this point, the tight end. That may be their best guy. That's how dire things have gotten for them. Ayo Minor might be out for this game as well. He's got a hamstring injury he's working through. So you're talking about throwing the ball to Van Jefferson and shoot, they got another rookie on that team other than Ayo Minor. DK.
DK. I call him Chike. DK.
Yeah, Chimere DK, I think is how you pronounce it. I looked it up. Yeah. So there's Tony Pollard's an okay running back, I guess. I do like their tight end combo, but for all they've invested into that offensive line too, they're not really getting their money's worth. They threw all that money at Dan Moore. He's not very good. They spent the top 10 pick on JC Latham. So far, he just seems okay. Lloyd Cushenberry has been really rough for them, actually. I think he's one of the worst centers in football. The only guy they have on that offensive line that's really good right now is Skoronski. And that's a team, like I said, they've made the investment. It just hasn't cashed in. So starting with the offense, it's pretty dire over there.
Yeah, they show you, and the commanders show you that you can go get the young quarterback and then do it right by trying to put the nice assembly of a good offensive line talent behind him. But there's no guarantee that'll work, even when you put that amount of resources into it. Like to your point that they have, it just hasn't quite worked out. Offensive line's tough, man. It is tough, with that, and hard to always find the right kind of guys. And I when I watch this offense, and I haven't watched a lot of Titans games this year, admittedly speaking, because it's kind of a rough team to watch. Offensively, it's what's made them fun to watch, and it has been for me Cam Ward, in that he's got some real true talent, true arm talent, an ability to make throws other guys just wouldn't. The improvisation is as much through the roof as anybody out there with what he can do back there. He makes a lot of fun though to watch the game, and he's got to be giving the Titans a little bit of hope for the future there. I think I don't know if I ever thought he was really truly worthy of being a number one first overall pick type, first round maybe quarterback, but he is looking like a guy that they can build around a little bit here.
I do like him. I do agree with you. He probably shouldn't have been the number one overall pick, but that's just the way things are going to go in this league sometimes. the best quarterback automatically goes in the first slot. And I really like his arm. Some of the throws he made, even like they were showing a couple of throws he made last week, really, really good stuff, fitting the ball into really tight windows, not afraid to take chances. But at the same time, he's the most sacked quarterback in the league right now. He's been sacked 41 times. His offense barely averaging over 2 touchdowns a game. I think they're averaging like 14.3 points a game. And, it just goes to show you that, he's putting together a nice little highlight reel. But in terms of actually playing the position consistently, he's nowhere near where he needs to be yet. And this is probably the juiciest opportunity that McDonald's going to have all year to really make a quarterback miserable. Like, it's hard to do we play other rookie quarterbacks this year? Probably not. I don't think.
McCarthy's kind of a rookie quarterback, but
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, no.
Right. So this is an opportunity for him to just cook up something that Cam Ward doesn't have a chance against, and I imagine that he will.
So looking at the offense, Brendan, here, and looking at specifically here from our perspective, I can get us into the right thing here. Come on, let me get us into the right deal here. Oh, so it's not letting me do this. Okay, I see how it goes.
Oh, here we go. I think you just added as like a slide or something.
Yeah, I got to do that, I think, here. Well, I had it as I had it, I guess, as an overlay here. Let me see if I can do it this way. Here are this, folks. It's a live show. No, it's not letting me do that.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Okay, so we'll just have to play this over the top of us here as we talk on this. Here's the offense, though, for the Titans. They, to Brendan's point, with being as sacked as they are, pressure rated 26th in the NFL. Their team rushing EPA per play, Brendan, is 31st. So you're not even giving Cam Ward, even with Pollard there, a consistent ground attack. You were speaking to, again, why he was sacked as much. We know this from the days when we've had quarterbacks holding the ball for more than 3 seconds or around 3 seconds. If you're going to hold it at that mark, you are going to probably be sacked at a higher rate than your average quarterback. So they're 29th in the NFL in the long holding on the ball for a long period of time at 2.93 seconds is Ward. And that's the improvisation stuff he's trying to do. That's the, I'm going to go and do something amazing. And maybe it'll be amazing, but also maybe it'll be a bad result. 28th in having the low blitz rate against them, Brendan. So, from your perspective on that, with it being the teams are going, look, we're getting the pressure. We don't have to blitz. I mean, maybe is this going to be a game where Mike goes into his bag, or does he just run the front four up there, drop the guys into coverage and call it a day on that because he knows he doesn't have to?
Well, it might not be blitzing per se, but I still think it'll be creative. I still think it'll be throwing stuff at Ward that he isn't expecting, which is kind of what this defense has been all year, right? They don't blitz a lot. I think they still have the lowest blitz rate in the league, or very close. So
on the bottom, near the bottom.
It's not so much just the blitzing, it's who you send and how you send them. That's what I'm thinking along the lines of, because you don't need to blitz this team. So I agree. You probably shouldn't be sending the house at them, but you still cook stuff up that Ward is not going to be familiar with and comfortable dealing with.
Stack boxes, simulated pressures, that type of thing.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. We've got a high average of separation at 12th, but Brendan mentioned that 2 of the key guys that probably are going to be out in this game that are creating that high separation for them on average route run would be Calvin Ridley, who's a really good route runner, and then Alec Ionamore, who's been giving them more than a few flashes this year. He looks like a player for them in the future.
I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, he's been really good this year for them, and a really good match with Ward and some of the throws that he can make. But that's going to go down a little bit this week if they're not having those guys out there. They're 25th in play action, so not only do they not run the ball well, but they don't even give Cam Ward much of the play action game to keep the defense at bay as far as that pass rush, which is getting home so often.
Is that probably because they fall behind so much? Play action is not going to be very effective because they're like multiple scores down.
To a degree, Brendan, but I think that at the same point in time, what we know about play action is that it tends to work whether or not you're effective at it or whether there's you're down in the game at it thing. You have to me, use it a little bit as just a counter for a quarterback. And to be this deep into it when you already are having issues in pass protection, it's not helping. and certainly halfway into the year, you'd kind of recognize as a coaching staff to say maybe why the coach is fired, partly for this reason, that maybe lean in this a little bit more to help him out with that. But of course, with Cam, he's coming from a background of not doing as much of that under center, turn your back to it kind of stuff too. So he's probably not as comfortable in doing it as well. But you don't have to count on it as much defensively. It's just one more thing that you get to take away with this offense. And you're like, yeah, we don't have to worry about it. 28th in Yak, Brendan. Ayana Moore's a catch it, get down, fall down guy. He's not going to do it. He's out of this game. Ridley, the same way. He'll get open, great route running, but he makes the catch. You're going to tackle him. DK's got some ability because he's a punt returner. He can do some stuff after the catch there for them a little bit. But Van Jefferson, similar kind of fashion. They're not going to challenge you from a Yak standpoint with rack yards after the catch. They face a light box at the 10th highest rate in the NFL, Brendan. This is to the bottom line of NFL defenses looking at the Titans saying, we don't have to blitz you to get the pressure. Doesn't matter which defense walks in there. They're all basically operating from that standpoint a bit.
Yeah.
27th in stack box rate.
Game situation probably dictates this a little bit, right? They can play back because they're playing with a lead.
Amen. Yes. 100%. 100%. And then in tandem with that, the 27th in stack box rate being very low. Over 58% of their runs are to the outside, which is the 12th highest in the NFL. So you can concentrate a little bit. I mean, there's some very predictable natures to this offense, Brendan, to where you can really kind of, okay, they're not going to play action. They're going to tend to run to the outside at a pretty high rate, like top 10 rate. So it's like you can kind of concentrate on top of them being talent deficient. I can concentrate on this Titans offense into areas where I know they're not going to utilize or take advantage of and really narrow this down for Cam Ward and make it very hard for him to play the position when you're kind of this predictable offensively speaking.
Yeah, it feels very remedial as far as offenses go, right? Like they're really bringing Cam Ward along, like you said, not comfortable going under center, not really comfortable with the turning his back to the defense, and they're kind of enabling a lot of that stuff right now. So it makes the offense feel very bare bones. I think that would probably be the best way to put it, and that's not going to cut it. They don't. It's not like they have the talent to overcome being bare bones either.
No, they don't. It's got to be one where you would think that they'd be doing a lot of bells and whistles to try to work around that lack of talent there. But it is what it is. You're getting to face a team that's beat up this year. Things aren't moving in the right direction. They don't even have their future head coach. This is definitely a game offensively. You want to step on them quickly. Stack boxes, simulate pressures all day long with that, and then just fall out of it to a front four every single time, and then let your guys go and hunt in this game defensively. I don't think you got to do a lot of intricate stuff here. I don't think you got to run a lot of press and flip it up snap to snap by what you're doing defensively speaking. I think you can kind of just keep it into that same note, and that'll be enough to get it done here against this Titans offense.
Yeah, I would expect, especially if they don't have a Yomenor, to probably go to tight end a lot with Helm and Okonkwo because they'll be very deficient at receiver. And I like that tight end combo. Helm as the rookie and Okonkwo has been in the league for a little bit longer. Those guys are pretty decent. So I think that's probably what we're going to see a lot of.
Yeah, Gunnar Helm out of Texas last year was a strong, solid tight end prospect that we had a chance to look a lot at, and that is the easy transition to do. Is you just go to more 2 tight end sets and look in a game like this where you think we might end up down in a game, and maybe they go out and they're a little bit more committed to running the ball in this game than they've been up to this point, and that they try to lead that way. But Seattle defensively wise, first stop to the outside runs, and then if they start going inside, then maybe counter back to that. But you can anticipate a little bit early on. They're going to press to the edges with that outside zone stuff and that kind of stuff to be where they're going to attack.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm kind of thinking, shoot, I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen very often, guys. That doesn't happen very often, but I'm just thinking about this Titans offense a little bit and what we might see them do. And do you get the sense that they might be liking Tyjae Spears over Tony Pollard? Because I noticed that he's actually been playing quite a bit lately.
A little bit. I mean, he's a little bit more third down backish in that and again, we come back to, like you said on this, down in games a lot, behind in games a lot. You're in third down, you're probably in spread looks with the third down back in the game a lot of the times. He's very dynamic out of the backfield, hard guy to bring down. But I think if you're going with actual running game and you're under the center and you're asking most of the runs that you'd ask, they're going to lean back to Pollard. I just think they're getting behind and so fast in some of these games that it just kind of takes him off the field a little bit more versus if it was evened up or tighter games. We look at, I think, some of their other games this year where they were probably closer in the game. Like I think they're pretty tight in the Texans game a little bit. I think we probably see that they were utilizing Pollard in that a little bit more evened up versus when they get behind, then it's all about Tajay.
Yeah, that does make sense. Although Pollard was a good receiving back in Dallas, and they haven't really utilized that ability of his in Tennessee very much so far.
No, it's not a big part of their offense. He's really going to try to work the ball down the field unless they've got stuff like schematically set up for Tajay, screen plays and stuff like that. Which you got to worry about a little bit with them because that's one way that they're going to neutralize your pass rush is try to hit you with a couple of screens to keep those guys from going 100 miles an hour downhill off the snap, which you got to be worried about if you're the Titans offense in that way. So it makes sense. And he's a hard tackle. He's one of those guys, one of the two guys I know of in the NFL that's got an ACL missing from one of his knees, like Peyton Wilson out there with the Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
So he's another guy that doesn't have, I guess, an actual ACL in his knee, but he's a fun back, hard to bring down. He's very elusive out there.
Oh, right. So what I was going to say before I lost my train of thought a minute ago there was one of the interesting subplots from that Rams-Seahawks game on Sunday was that Seattle was able to really shut down the 3 tight end looks from LA, even though they didn't really come out of their nickel and nickel sets. They didn't really counter with base. So if Tennessee does that, you got to have a lot of confidence that you're going to be able to do the same thing to them if they go tight end heavy. So that was one of the things that came out of that Rams game that was really cool. We didn't compromise our overall strategy defensively, but we were still very effective against the team that loves to go jumbo more than any other team in the league right now.
Yeah, it's the great factor of having a Nicky Manwari out there versus if you have a smaller slot corner and that there's maybe more of a drive. Like if this is last year, Brendan, and you're in the same sort of situation, Witherspoon's on the outs. Witherspoon probably gets kicked to the outside, and you probably start to try to run a little bit more base. To your point, so this is the nice part about having Manwari out there. I think this is also how you shut that down with that blitzing stuff that you did. As you saw when they were in 13 personnel, we'll just blitz them out of 13 personnel. And as soon as Stafford comes off that rollout and he's coming around the other side, we'll have a guy right in his face when we do it. It was a great strategy, but you're right. It's all the better for this team that it can stay in its kind of base unit that it wants to stay in. It doesn't want to run a lot of different personnel groupings out there. It really doesn't. We want our rotations and we want to run basically our nickel 24/7 if we can get away with it outside of goal line and short yardage to go situations. And they showed this last week. They can do it. Great point.
Yeah. Shout out to Emanwari and Witherspoon. Their play is making it possible for the most part. The way they play the run, the way they play the outside, it's making it happen.
Yeah, we have two guys like that, and Emanwari can play like a linebacker out there. That's just a hell of a puzzle piece to have that you can add to your defense. And like I said earlier, he's playing like a Kyle Hamilton. He's giving you the Kyle Hamilton like play from that not a like poor man's or a slightly lesser. He's playing like Kyle is for the position, and that's an amazing addition to this defense. Amazing.
I love it. Very fun.
Yeah, me too. Well, let's turn this over to the defensive side for the Tennessee Titans, Brendan. We have a Tennessee team that moved Roger McCreary, slot cornerback, to the Rams. They moved Draymond Jones, who was actually having a very good year for them. Seattle pickup for them, doing really well. They moved him, I think, to
Baltimore. No, I think
Baltimore.
it was Baltimore.
He goes to Baltimore. So he goes to Baltimore, and so they are now operating with, I guess, what I would call edge deficiency. Is that a good way of putting it at this point with where they're kind of standing there?
Yeah. This is the side of the ball where they actually have a little spark, though. There's a little bit of stuff going on here that, as a Titans fan, you could get a little excited about. But they stripped down at the trade deadline for sure, and they are a worse team for it. And the thing that really stands out to me is they've got nothing at cornerback. I don't even know who these players are because L'Jarius Sneed is out for the year, or he's IR. I don't know if he's coming back this year or not, but he's out right now. They got nothing at cornerback. I legitimately have never heard of these guys before, and I've heard of most players in this league, I think.
Yeah, I mean, specifically speaking to Darrell Baker Jr., Marcus Harris as their nickel back. We scouted Jalen Armour Davis coming out of Alabama, but he's nothing special there. You know,
Yeah.
he's fine with it.
AI
They're
generated
not.
football players.
Yeah, pretty much. It's this Madden AI generated football players is kind of the way it is. So there's definitely some holes in the secondary that you can get after. Interesting to see Kevin Winston, but they got Xavier Woods here questionable. We liked Kevin Winston a lot coming out of
Mm.
Penn State with that injury he had. Be interesting to see if he gets the start this week. If Xavier can't go, and if you got a rookie out there, just another spot that you could feel like you could maybe attack. Though Kevin's a very talented player, a very fun player to watch. Injury just kind of cost him a little bit. But I
Yeah.
guess you're saying then it's a little bit of the front seven making them work. I know I'm not speaking highly of the edges, which is true. They don't have great edges, but they've got some things happening on the interior of that defensive line, don't they?
Yeah, although Jeffrey Simmons did not practice yesterday, so we'll have to see if he's going to be available or not. That would be a
If they don't got Jeffrey Simmons. good,
yeah.
good night. Good luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't see the pathway at that point.
At that point, it's basically a preseason game, it feels like.
It kind of is. Yeah. You're gonna have Shy Tuttle and Tavondre Sweat as your two guys I've heard, or CJ Ravenel. I
Hmm.
don't know who that is either. A lot of guys on this defense. I don't know that guy. And we
Yep.
scout almost everybody coming out, folks. So
Yep.
um yeah,
um,
it's light.
I like Sweat. I think Sweat's a pretty decent nose tackle. I think he's been all right.
Yeah.
Cedric Gray seems like a decent enough player. I will say his high tackle count. Don't get sucked in by that. That's a pretty pure example of the best player on a terrible team is going to build massive tackle stats because somebody's got to get the tackle, and their
True.
defense is on the field constantly. But Cedric Gray's been pretty good, and even Cody Barton has actually been okay for them. But yeah, there's not a lot going on here. It's Jeffrey Simmons is great. We know that Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best interior linemen in the league, and it says something about how great he is that even with the Titans probably being the worst team of the league back-to-back seasons, they don't want to move him. They won't move him. They feel like he's a little too good, and they kind of feel like that's our guy. We got to go down with our guy. We gotta stick with him, and maybe it would be strategically better for us to move him, but we just like him too much. So that's nice, but if that's all you got going for you, it's you get the 30th ranked defense in the league, which is what they are right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one where it's to me, it's a little bit of shades of like the Crosby thing to me. They had plenty of offers on the table at the trade deadline to maximize out the returns they get back for Jeffrey. This team's a ways away right now, especially defensively. They're ways away. They need playmakers offense. There's a lot here to kind of get this thing figured out. And if you're not close, I hammer this with you all the time. If you're not close, you got to know your lane. You got to know what time it is. And the time right now should have been, in my opinion, to move him. But you're right. He's a great player, and you don't want to move great players. I mean, that's just teams are very anti that. And I get that. I totally do get that. But if you can get the assets back, probably smart to do so, especially if you can get a lot of assets back. And you just got to feel like with Jeffrey, you might have been able to get even 2 first-round picks at the trade deadline, maybe,
Yeah,
depending
I
on the
probably would have
team.
moved him. I think that he's gotten to that point where the Titans ownership probably just feels like this has got to be our ride or die guy. And sometimes you get that in your head. I think that you just start kind of thinking to yourself that this is just the guy we're going to remember as being the defining Titan of this era. And because of that, he's got to be our guy. And when you're an organization like the Titans that doesn't seem to be super invested into, like, how should I put this, winning, with some of the
Mhm.
recent decision making, you kind of get your head lost in things like that rather than doing what's best for the team.
Does feel like they're sometimes driven by other stuff, moving on from Vrabel as they did, and we see what a coach Vrabel is, and it seemed like he was moved as much as anything because he was like maybe too intimidating or some BS like that. That was, the deal there with what he was dealing with, or a prickly pear in the front office. Like maybe he had a point though with some of the prickliness he was showing. That's all I'm saying. You're probably right about the Jeffrey Simmons thing. He is a part that's important piece for them this upcoming game because you don't have much else defensively. Functional linebacker play. Tavondre Sweat's good against the run and has carved out a pretty good career in that side. Pretty empty secondary. When we look at them defensively, Brendan, much like the offense, everything kind of matches up in alignment to what they appear to be. Teams are passing on the Titans at the ninth lowest rate. That's because they're up on the Titans quite a bit, so you're running the ball a lot. The Titans are 24th in pressure rate, and that was when they actually had guys like Draymond Jones there. It's probably worse collectively now than even what the stat shows you it to be.
Mhm.
They do stay pretty tight on the receivers. They're eighth on the good side of this in average separation on route. So their corners do stay pretty sticky in general terms there. They're third in time to pressure. So that was the interesting part here, Brendan, when I looked at the stats on them, is that they actually, when they do create pressure, and again, this is when they create pressure. So third time to pressure doesn't mean they create pressure a lot. It means that when they create the pressure, they create it quickly. So Dan Sam's got to be aware of that today, Brendan, on that. Seattle's 27th in time to pressure. We're a slow pressure team. So two ends of the scale here a little bit on that one. Something to maybe be aware of from Sam's perspective, especially when he's going to try to avoid interceptions in this game. Quick pressure comes, have a plan of attack if you happen to, encounter that. 20th, 7th in pass EPA. So not good there. You can throw on this team. 24th in blitz rate. They don't blitz very much, so you should see pretty much front four looks in what you're getting from them. 14th in yak, middle of the road there, so neither good nor bad. 11th in stack box rate on the high side, so they do have a tendency to stack boxes. And when I was looking at their third in time to pressure rate, Brendan, this was the stat to me that made sense as to, I was like, how are they doing this when they don't have the talent to really generate that kind of quick pressure? Well, when you're stacking the box with the 11th highest rate, that's kind of one of the ways that you're sort of falsely generating it, I would say. They are 23rd in light boxes. So they do not tend to run a lot of light boxes. These are two different teams that operate, it would seem, stylistically in two different ways, even though they do have kind of the same defense here. Like the Titans were running the same defense, but they are running the Mike McDonald defense in a different fashion. Maybe some of it as well is just trying to overcome the lack of talent. So you start to, coaching wise, do some of this stuff like stacking the box and bringing up the blitz rate, that type of thing. They are middle of the road and being attacked fairly equally inside and outside when it comes to the ground game. So you can hit them inside or outside. All teams are kind of attacking them all the way around. Though I will say that with Tavondre Sweat in there and with Jeffrey Simmons in there, if Jeffrey's playing, Brendan, I probably want to work more of that outside zone game and stay to the edges and try to get after them there.
Yeah, the Anthony Bradford memes are making national meme pages now. So you don't want to be testing that matchup right now. The Bradford and Oluwatimi versus, and possibly Christian Haynes, by the way, possibly versus Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat. That doesn't sound like fun. We don't need more memes out there.
No, we don't. And I think you do have to go with Haynes this week, whether Zabel's ready to go or not. Technically, like, I can go play, coach. Give him a week. You can win this game without Zabel. It's the difference in this game is not going to be Zabel playing or not.
Right.
And I would like to see them be conservative. Not to mention, Brendan, we get a little bit of a better idea in what we have in Haynes. Like we still don't quite know what we got in this guy. This wouldn't be a bad game to kind of get a little bit of a better assessment about where he stands.
Yeah, I agree. And I've always kind of wondered if he might be a decent left guard fit because he doesn't have the strength to hold up at right guard. I feel like right guard's kind of like a dead on arrival for him. But I am wondering about that potential of him being a decent left guard. I know he's not the most athletic. I know he's not the most agile. But I am kind of interested to see if maybe this will be a little bit more his tempo. PFF actually gave him a pretty decent grade for last week. I personally didn't really see it. I thought he got blown up bad on one of those plays, but maybe. I mean, he's got to be working on his last chance here.
You got to figure out something for him. You got to figure out if he's part of the plan or not going forward, because you're going to need to get more of this offensive line fixed into this offseason. So is he a part of that puzzle that can help get it fixed, or is it that it just was a miss? And it's not the worst thing if it's a third round pick that you might have missed on. It's not that that's some great indictment on John at that point. But I think the team's got to kind of make a decision on this of where they stand with him. Is there a pathway for this guy to play or not? And if not, we've got to readdress this in kind of a major way. Like you said with Bradford, we've hit a point on that one where it's like, the play's just not improving like we would hoped it would under this new coaching staff. He is what he is. You'll get the good with a good amount of bad, and it's hard to watch when it's bad, man. It's like, I think I saw on Twitter, it was like, why does he keep looking backwards on every snap? Like, why does he end up the play with his back turned, staring at the quarterback on every single snap? It's a good question.
Yeah,
solid question there on that one.
I knew it was over when I saw like the league-wide meme pages posting about him, because before it was just Seahawks pages, but now it's like everybody's figuring this out, so it's pretty much over. I feel like the only chance he has is to like lose 30 pounds. Like that's what it would take for him to maybe find himself. But I don't think we can spend another year on. I think next year is when the big money starts to kick in for him too, because that fourth year on the rookie deal is a lot bigger than the third year. So we got to find something else.
We do. You can't trot this out another season. You've given him so much run, even from when he was a rookie. He's been having his share of starts here on this team and been given a lot of time and opportunity here to improve. And I understand that they love the athletic profile and the size and his ability to move people. And there are good snaps you get on tape with him too, and good games that are mixed in here with this too. But we need more consistency and steadiness from the position long term than what we're really getting here. Not to mention, as I say, last year the contract, whether it costs a lot or not part of the long-term problem. You ain't signing him to a deal. So why not just get this addressed this offseason as is and call it a day? Hopefully they take those kind of steps here on this from Brendan. What do you take away as far as what's your plan of approach here offensively in this game? Is it you've got the stack boxes, you've seen stack box, you have a team that runs a lot of stack boxes. You've dealt with a lot of stack boxes this year so far. You've sometimes had a hard time finding any headway in the running game because there's so many bodies down there in that front seven. But is leaning in this game with the run out the gate the way to go with this, or attack them as we've been attacking some of these stack boxes up until this point?
Well, one thing I would say is that even though they've been pretty aggressive with the stacked boxes, they have not been good stopping the run this year. They have one of the worst run defenses in football. Some of that is because they play from behind a lot, but some of it is because they're just not good at it. And I would say that you should be able to run the ball here, but the biggest mismatch here to me is their secondary against our receivers, mostly JSN. But I look at this secondary and I think to myself, with no L'Jarius Sneed out there, and of course no Roger McCreary, should be able to generate some explosives in the passing attack here. So I think my first thought is I want to attack that a little bit and see if I can take advantage, because I just think about the level of talent, the talent discrepancy here. It's pretty massive, and I want to hit that.
It is, in my opinion, as well. I think you're hitting it on the button as far as where I stand with this as well. In that, would love to run the ball. It's good the team's been able to run the ball, run them well. You're probably going to run this ball as we get later into the game. If they're going to stack that box up, this is what we've seen as an approach from so many defenses this year, and we've done such a good job in getting after those defenses. Rams didn't do it last week, but that doesn't mean the Tennessee Titans are going to tear. They don't have the personnel to tear the page out of their book and utilize that same strat this week. So you're going to probably get the stack boxes. You're probably going to get that heavy pressure rate, heavy blitzing, and that should allow Sam, this Rashid Shaheed, to maybe get a big play this week, taking the top off the defense, but it should give them some opportunities on some chunk plays down the field, one-on-one, for Sam to be able to make some of these big-time throws he's capable of making and go get some quick points in this game, where it doesn't have to be necessarily long managed drives, but again, can be sort of fast-acting, quick, get on top of them, put them away, give them no hope, and then just kind of ease your way through the rest of the game. That's to me the recipe for success on this one.
Yeah, I'd look for something kind of similar to what we saw against a team like Washington or Arizona the second time, where you might run the ball a lot and not be super successful, but it sets up your explosive passing attack very well.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. Are we going to hang another 30 burger up on this 1.5 like we have 3 times this year so far?
I think so, actually. Even
let's go, Brennan.
I just don't know what this Titans team really does well. I mean, you look at the numbers, it's kind of crazy how bad this team really is. Remember, their one win this year was a complete fluke. The stuff that happened for them to beat Arizona by 1 point was unconscionable, like once in a decade type stuff. So they I just don't know what they can really do here. I'm looking at something like 31-10. I think I'm in that range.
I'm about the same point, 34-13. This is a 1-9 team that has been made weaker by what they've done to get themselves here. That they are not anywhere close to their strongest version of themselves, and that they are much diminished. And that's a team that already doesn't have much talent. It's just hard that outside of you not showing up, you still asleep at 10 a.m., that there is any way that you don't take this win and take it fairly easily, especially with the team, to me, coming off that Rams game that's going to come into this hungry and pissed off about that game and probably wanting to, get themselves back to the right side of this quick. And so, I think the Titans had a couple of the receivers back in tow here, Brendan, like a Ridley and an I am on him more. You go, well, there's a pathway for them to be dangerous. He can throw it around. He can make some big time throws on you there. Without that, you mentioned that they're going to have to live in maybe 12 personnel a lot of this game just because they don't have the healthy receivers to roll off of. Say nothing of the guy that they missed a couple of years ago in the first round. That guy never turned up to be anything either. Remember the kid out of what was it, Jenkins, something like that?
Wide receiver.
Yeah, it was the Arkansas, I think, wide receiver they took. Remember they took that kid in the first round?
Burks.
Yeah, Burks was going to be their Brown replacement, and he's out. So it's just they're far down the line on their receiver core right now. They're far down the line on edge rushers right now. They're far down the line on cornerbacks right now, and it's a bad team on top of that. It's already fired its head coach. This should be more than 3 touchdown win pretty easily to me.
Titans have had some of the bigger misses in the draft in recent history. You've got Burks, Caleb Farley, who I think played like in one season.
Mm-hmm.
And Isaiah Wilson, who might be the biggest bust in NFL history that nobody knows about.
Yeah, it's very true, man. I think they've let a couple of GMs go too, so it's not just the same GM. They've been a little bit snake bit. Will Levis on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
You could throw him on top of that.
Dylan Radunz has been a big disappointment.
Dylan Radunz. Hell, they had Peter Skoronski. They had dangled at the trade deadline, supposedly, potentially. Like maybe they're kind of getting out on him a little bit. So it's been some bad drafts here by the Titans over and over and over again. I'm not even convinced really this last draft after Ward. I think Ward and Ionamore are the really good picks, but what did they do outside of that? I guess Cedric Gray is turning into a pretty good inside linebacker for him, but this team's got a lot of work to do, man. They've got a lot to do, and you know, look, you let coaches go. It's always when we look at teams to be Brendan, you try to look at where's the lessons and rules to look at. Like, you let a coach go. Make sure you've given that guy a fair shake. Make sure that it's the right timing. Make sure that if you have a defensive-minded head coach, you've gotten him a top grade A quarterback. And if you're letting a grade A defensive-minded coach go before you've given that, if Ryan Tannehill is the best you've given that guy, you're probably being premature in letting a guy like that go, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that had to be something outside of football. That had to be something like personal. There had to be
What's the whole
something going on
intimidating
there.
thing?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. It was the whole intimidating thing that he was intimidating like the general manager staff. Like, I picture him like going up to the GM manager. They're doing that long walk down a hallway, Brendan, and he like does this move, and the guy can't get by him. You know, Vrabel's like, "So we're gonna so you're gonna trade AJ Brown, huh? What are you getting in here, huh? Oh, an untested rookie? Oh, you're gonna give $25 million to Calvin? Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing?" I picture a little bit of that, but yeah, that's what we heard. And if that's the reason, toughen up. This is football, and he's passionate about it, and he was right. If he was right too, especially, it's like, well, the lesson there is not that, Vrabel really intimidating. The lesson there is don't make dumbass decisions.
Okay, so the current Titans GM is Mike Borgonzi, who got hired this offseason. This is his first year. And then they had Ran Carthone for 2 years before then, and he was a disaster.
Yeah.
And before him, they had Ryan Cowden. Man, I don't know who these people are. And the year before that, John Robinson. So they've been through 4 GMs in 5 years, I think, if I have that right.
Yeah, and now they've got to go find a new head coach here on top of it, who's going to be forced to inherit Cam, and maybe he likes Cam, maybe he doesn't. But it's again just more of a situation where you're doing this a little bit backwards. You know, you'd like your new head coach to be the guy that has a chance to pick that quarterback, so that he's completely bought in on that guy. Those guys' relationship is so very important. But you're not going to do this, and this is how stuff perpetually keeps getting not corrected in a given bad franchise, is that you just keep doing things backwards and prematurely, and you get the cart before the horse. I don't even know who's going to go there as a head coach to want to go be in that situation, considering where that roster is. Like, I think you could potentially offer a guy like Kubiak that job, and he'd be like, wait a year.
Yeah.
Let's give it a year.
I have a feeling Mike McCarthy is going to either be a Titan or a Giant. I think those are the two teams that are like, okay, he'll just be happy to be working. And he's not terrible. You know, he did good things in Dallas.
No, that's a great poll for the Titans. That's exactly the type of coach bringing in at this time that I could see them doing. Don't think it's going to be successful, but that's as good as they probably could hope to bring in there, given the situation. And you're right. He's at least he's functional. He's not going to be a bad coach. You know, he may have some like restriction on his ceiling, but he's probably gives you a high floor kind of guy. He's got the connections through the league with smart coordinators and whatnot. So you have that you can lean on a bit, I suppose, to that side of it. But yeah, that's a great pull. Very likely to that'd be right where I'd see them probably going. Surely don't want
Yeah.
to go untested or, something like that. You're going to get an offensive minded guy in there with Ward. You're not going to go get like Shula with the Rams in there. You're going to bring a defensive minded head coach in, I wouldn't think.
Mm. You say that, but these GMs and these owners can surprise you sometimes. And look, I think Shula's great. So if they got him, I wouldn't be against it, but I don't know if it would work. Maybe you find a really good offensive coordinator that's willing to work under Shula. It's not impossible, I guess.
Yeah, I could. It's in there. What about John Gruden to the Cardinals?
I like it. I like it. The thing is, I think Gruden has a little bit of a history of wanting to inherit players, not so
Mm,
much draft and develop them on his own. Like
yeah,
I'm thinking about Tampa Bay, where he didn't have to groom Brad Johnson. He just got Brad Johnson and was able to go have success with him. And then after that, I remember he got Jeff Garcia when Jeff Garcia was like 38 or whatever and rode him for a little bit. And when he tried to develop players like Chris Sims, it went poorly. So I think that he might prefer that if Kyler was somebody that he wanted to ride with. And I doubt that's the case, but it is an interesting idea.
well, I think they're moving. Kyler's out of there
Yeah,
this
he's got to
offseason,
be.
regardless.
He's got to be.
He's out of there. So I think that they'd be moving. But you're right about that. Rich Gannon, to add on to your point, Gannon with the Raiders stuff was also a journeyman kind of quarterback
Yeah.
who he kind of had in there already. It was already baked. Not that John didn't help him elevate his game, but that you sort of gave him. You had a guy that where he didn't have to start from scratch with the guy either. To your point.
Mhm.
And that very well could be the case. My conspiracy right now, Brendan, is that the NFL is going to get John a job in order to make that court case go away because
Mm.
there's that ongoing court case happening with him in the league right now. And supposedly he's got a lot of dirty laundry that he could air on the NFL that the NFL does not want aired with the whole situation. We'll see. See how it
Yeah, I
goes. But
like
one
it.
thing's for true is there's not a lot of great coaches out there on the open market this offseason. There's not like a plethora of guys just sitting there to be, grabbed up. You're going through some back end retreads or some real greenhorn type head coaches if you're going to go that route with it.
Yeah, I mean, is a guy like Adam Stenovich even really all that appealing right now? Like he was the guy that I thought was going to be the hot prospect coordinator to head coach this offseason, but I don't know. Things are getting a little less appealing there.
I'm not hearing. Is that the Viking guy?
No, Stenovich is the Packers OC under LaFleur.
Yeah. I mean, LaFleur is looking like he's going to lose his job right now. If it maintains, if it keeps going the direction it's heading right now, he's out. Probably.
Maybe.
He's
Yeah, you're
out of
right.
contract after this year. He doesn't have to be fired.
Really? I thought only Dallas allowed coaches to coach on dead man walking deals.
I mean,
Wild.
think about it. They haven't had a lot of success. And the one thing that stood out to me that I've noted many times is that Jordan Love is not advancing. Is that Jordan Love's fault? Is that LaFleur's fault? I don't know. But it is the reality when you watch him play is that the guy's not getting off his first read and he's not getting progressively better as a quarterback with the more time he's playing. And I think that's what they thought was going to click in here. I think that's what they were sort of counting on LaFleur to help bring about. I think LaFleur's done a lot of good job for Love, where I think you put Love with a lot of other OCs. LaFleur's scripted up a lot of stuff to help him work and make it work. It's not his fault he can't get to his second read at times. Kid's just not, I don't think, capable of doing it. But be interesting. See what the Packers do in that situation. And they've had a weird year, man, for a team that was ready to go. And they sort of did a Seahawk move like we'd done prior, where we're ready. We're one player away, and they get the one player away, and it's like, are we even going to make the playoffs?
Yeah, it is rough. And look, if LaFleur gets fired, then if I'm a team like the Titans, I would move heaven and earth to get him in there. But
Yeah.
I don't think he'd take that job. But the point I'm making is that somebody's going to be very happy with him, I think.
If you're LaFleur and you're offered the Cardinal and the Titan job, which one do you take?
Probably the Cardinals job, because then I can get my own quarterback, right? I can choose who I want. Whereas if I go to the Titans, I'm stuck with Ward.
Well, what if that means it's Fernando with Indiana? If you're a coach, you want Fernando or you want Cam Ward?
I do like Fernando. I'm not enamored with him. I do like him. The thing is, Arizona is not going to have pick high enough, I don't think. They've won too many games.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard too with this. I know everybody was going to be the number one overall pick, but I don't know that necessarily he will because he's not going to run fast, and I don't think he's going to display necessarily upper level arm talent either for the position. And I think that's going to allow him to be a first round quarterback still, and still maybe a top 10 pick.
Mhm.
But I think that that's not going to have that consensus thing of guys that we've seen in the past up around the top of the draft, where people just go, "Oh, this guy's yeah, you just take him. You got to take him top 3 or whatever, on that side." Um, but that's the one thing with picking the new quarterback is you're not in a good year picking the quarterback right now. You might have to wait a year down the line to pick that quarterback, you know.
Yeah,
But I get it.
and if you have,
Cardinals makes sense.
I mean, you could always kind of buy a lottery ticket. Somebody like Drew Alar, who's had his stock plummet this year. Maybe you still
He's
believe
going
in
back
Drew
to
Alar.
college.
You think so? I thought he
Yeah.
couldn't.
No, he can go back. He's got one more
Okay.
year, I think. He's a
Okay.
junior.
Well, I mean, if you have to wait 1 year for the quarterback, that's not the worst thing in the world.
It's not, especially because they're going to have to eat probably potentially up to $50 million on the cap, on the Kyler cap hit. And we know that that owner doesn't have a lot of money. So he's not bearing void years and doing a lot of that stuff to overcome that, to your point. So maybe you wait a year and look. Next year's draft for quarterbacks looks like it might be a lot better, especially if a couple of these guys, be it Aller, Norris, Arch Manning's definitely gets another year. We'll see if he can develop better. But there's a couple other guys too, in addition to this, coming back into next year that'll be probably will make it a better quarterback class. I'm going to be hesitant to say that though now, Brendan, because I was for sure thinking this year's quarterback class was going to rock, and it is not rocking. It looks
Yeah, it
pretty
is
gross.
completely falling apart. Dante Moore might be the first quarterback on, which I don't get that one at all, really.
I think everybody's talking themselves into it because you get the bad quarterback year and then guys start talking themselves into stuff, Brendan. That's what I think is going to happen here with these guys where they go, well, we don't like him, but boy, he's got this one throw. He's got this one game against this team. Look at Fernando against Indy. Look at Penn State there, what he did at the end there. Like, that's this NFL quarterback. I think they're going to do a lot of that stuff. But I look at the tape, I see the same thing. I don't see anybody yet that I'm really enamored with. I was never really big on Russ Namayer from LSU. He's had a downward season. Everybody's getting hot to trot on Ty Simpson with his 1 year of starting. I think he's not. I don't think he's got the biggest of arms. I think he's gutsy and he makes a lot of big time throws as far as just being ballsy with some of what he does. But I don't think he doesn't have a lot of. He's going to 6'1", 6'2", maybe a little bit undersized. He's got okay mobility. He's got better mobility than Fernando, but I don't know. None of them have got me really. I would not be hyped by any of these guys being my signal caller of the future.
Yeah, Nico Iamaleava completely fell on his face, which really disappointed me because I love that guy's potential. But
Yeah,
nothing going on there. So yeah, it's not good.
Not good. We'll have to see how the situation goes, but all the better we got Darnold in tow and Milrose and Drew Locks here, and then it's good to have the quarterback position settled up where it's at for us right now because teams looking for him right now are going to be a little bit disappointed, I think, in what they get back as a return. Well, let's get a prediction. You did the prediction, I guess, on this one. You have 31-10, I think is what you said for this game.
Yes.
All right. And so Brendan and me are pretty closely aligned in the way we see this game. Utter dominance, get out ahead of them, lap them. I'm 34-13, so I'm in the same territory. Want to throw a big shout out here, if we can, to the sponsor of this show, which is going to be, of course, Sleeper. Sleeper is the sponsor. Let them know about Sleeper here, Brendan.
All right. Well, Sleeper is the #1 app for daily fantasy out there right now. You can follow sports, you can get live updates, and you can put together picks based on over-unders, on touchdowns, yards, all kinds of fun stuff like that, all kinds of players. And we are going to show you how to put together one of those tickets right now. We got one up on screen, and we are doing a code off right now, me and Brandon of the Hawks Nest here. So if you want to get 100% match up to $100 on your first deposit, you can use code NEST for Brandon or SBN for me. Either way, you get your 100% match. And there is also going to be a free $20 you can get, no code required, if you go sign up to Sleeper. So get on over to Sleeper. This is the way sports were meant to be enjoyed. Check it out and go have some fun this year with sports.
Indeed, that's $20 entry, no deposit needed. Just create a login. They'll put $20 in your back pocket for doing that. So up to $120 from us to you, and you show some love to the channels at the same time, Nest or SBN. You can see on the ticket here that I've got placed, we've got Sam Darnold at over 1.5 touchdown passes. Walker's going to get some more run this week, according to McDonald. So I'm over 58.5 yards rushing here. Barner over 25.5 yards receiving after his 10 catch performance last week. And then Tony Pollard over 10.5 yards receiving, as there'll be times I think the pocket will be breaking down and Ward will just kind of throw it out there to Pollard as kind of a security blanket. Those are the picks, though. You can 6.81 max that on those 4 selections right now. Please do use our codes today. Big shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the show, and showing love here to the channel is much, much, much appreciated. Please do use that code. Terms and conditions do apply. Please do see their site for details.
Yep.
Well, we hopefully, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said yes.
Well, we got this kind of wrapped up today, folks. Not a lot in this matchup as some of these other matchups. Certainly not like last week's matchup, which is so intricate and had so many things at play to help determine which way that game was going to go this week. It's not as much that way. You rarely are going to always get this easy of a game set up on the schedule where you get both a bad team that's a bad team that's also limping in. That's a bad team limping in that's sold at the trade deadline. That's a bad team that's limping in that's sold at the trade deadline who also let go their head coach midseason. It doesn't get more downtrodden than this. With a rookie quarterback starting at the helm under a flurry of chaos, you should handle business in this game. You should walk away with this with an easy win, a get-right game. Man, that makes last week feel a lot better because we're able to go out there and do this again and continue to build forward and build toward that Rams game in a couple weeks here, Colts game in a couple weeks here, where we can hopefully see the Seattle Seahawks finally, Brendan, slay that dragon, because I think you and I still do both stand and saying, look, if we're going to be a contender this year, we can't lose to the Colts and lose the Rams and hope we're going to get the playoffs. And that's now when we're going to make our statement at that point. It's going to be hard to have confidence in that team in the playoffs if this is the reality of what we're seeing playing out through the rest of this year. We got to get it at some point or another to know we can do it, as it's not been just missing this year. It's been missing the last couple of years.
That's right. That's right. And I believe that they can do it. But part of that roadmap is beating a team like the Titans and probably beating them down pretty hard. So I want to see something impressive this weekend. I don't want to sneak out of there with a 7-point win or anything like that. Take care of business, impress me, and show me that you took that game personally last week.
Yeah, great teams don't overlook teams like this. No one's going to sleepwalk your way to victory. You got to bring your best effort and the high intensity. These players, the Titans, are trying to put on great tape, be it for that they can remain there in the future, or they go earn some money this offseason. So you're not getting them just completely checked out thinking about Cabo here. You got to still bring your best effort forth to go get this game. But I'm expecting the Seahawks will. Mike's had this team connected throughout this year. He's had them ready to play in every single game. You've had almost at our 11th straight win on the road here last week, if not for that field goal, though you missed it just at the end. I'm expecting a comfortable win. Let's go get this. Let's go get this right. Let's set the stage back on this. We got the Vikings next week. A couple games here to kind of get right into the right direction of things, to be able to turn our attention towards the end of this season and hopefully a final run for the Seahawks team and maybe able to go actually make some playoff noise.
Yep.
Any final thoughts from you on that?
One last thing on the Titans, their special teams unit is terrible as well. They got one of the worst kickers. They got one of the worst punters. And they have, I believe, the worst average starting field position and the third worst opponent average starting field position of anybody in the league. So there is no element of football that these guys are good at. There is nothing they do right.
Hits just keep coming for the Titans on this, man. None of the peripherals at all on this give them any good indicators at all. And it stands out to why we have this being a bow race is just, there's nothing that they have to lean their hat on right now. There's no refuge. There's no sanctuary for them offensively or defensively. And this is why you can get after them across the board, Brendan. So let's dominate them special teams. Let's dominate them defensively. Let's dominate them offensively. Let's get out another comfortable win and get this back onto the road on the right direction and set up that matchup a couple weeks down the line. I thank you for doing this, Brendan. Always a pleasure doing the B&B show, folks. If you can for me, if you're watching from the Hawks Nest, please do sub up over on to Seahawks Brendan Nelson here on YouTube. He does great work, daily content. Or if you're on Seahawks Brendan Nelson's side, please do get subbed up over to my side, the Hawks Nest here as well on my side of it. We'll come back next week, hopefully celebrating a Seahawks win and looking at this Vikings team here a week from now, Brendan. But it's going to be fun to see how this team responds after a tough loss last week as we continue to learn more and more about where this team's going this year and what the final form is that they're going to take. Did the dragon wings sprout out? You know what I mean? Did the jaws like a werewolf developing mid-transformation come out, and we'll see. It seems like they're right on the edge from that happening. It really does. And it's made this a really fun year and a fun time with you to be able to turn this over and watch this team because there's so many cool things going on.
Yeah. It's I'm here for the ride. I'm down with the ride so far, but it's not over yet.
Not over yet, folks. Keep the faith, keep faith in Darnold. I know some of you are a little shaken at it coming off this game, but I'm telling you, he's going to bounce back. This is a good quarterback, and he is the plan for the future of the position. I'm telling you. We will be back in a week, folks, but until that time, let's go get this win. Let's celebrate this win and keep the good times rolling here this football season. But until then, please don't you ever forget. Don't you ever forget. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.